I have it on screen. The plan. Hello, Emily. Yes, I have. I should be going out with my dog right now, but I was offered a sudden collaboration to talk about the peace plan. So I'm like, okay, let's do it. So we're gonna be discussing the plan now with a person. Remember to press like on the stream. Fido's not happy. I have to go out with him soon.
Hello, hello.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Hey, hello, hello. It's been a while. Hold on.
It has, yeah. How have you been?
Mixed. Oh, should I say it was... There's been a mixed bag, as always. How do I pop the thing out? There should be an option to pop the thing out on Discord. I always forget where it is.
Yeah, good question.
Me?
No, I said, yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. As to how to do that.
Because I wanna sort of pop you out and show you off. Where's the...
Okay, I have no idea how to do that.
Oh, no idea. Yeah? Weird. I was sure it was always some sort of a simple, but maybe if I know, yeah, I know. It's not available yet because okay, now I understand. Okay, no, okay, I get it now. I'm gonna deactivate. It's gonna be a whole process, isn't it? There we go. Now we can do it. I've popped you out. Boom.
Let me see if I can turn on my camera as well.
Yes.
Oops. Or what you could maybe do is just like we could keep our cameras off on Discord and like I've just popped open your stream on my screen.
Yes, although I've already turned my camera on Discord.
Yeah, yeah, I think it'd be easier if you if we both keep our cameras off on Discord, right? Because it seems like that your camera got shut off on your stream as well.
Yeah, because I can only use it on one. Oh,
Yeah,
you
so what I'm
cannot
suggesting
start. You
is like
cannot start your camera on Discord, right?
no. So what I'm suggesting is we can keep our
Yeah.
cameras off on Discord and we can just pop each other's streams open on our screen.
Okay.
That would be like easier.
Okay.
Who's speaking? That is
Yeah. Do you remember me? It's Lucy. Haza. Hold up. What is your... I have to find your stream.
yeah, it's on Twitch. I can just send you a link.
Yes, please.
Right, 1 second.
Peace plan. I'm gonna put it
Right,
here.
there you go.
Yep. I'm going to have to show it. Okay. Link. It's always a whole operation, isn't it? These things.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Got you here. So now I'm just gonna window, I guess window capture. Wrong opera. Oh, there you go. Okay. Okay, cool. We've got you here now. There's gonna be a bit of a probably delay, but that's okay. Okay. Hi, dog.
Sorry?
Oh, I'm talking to my dog.
Oh, okay.
You didn't hear the noise he's making?
No, I did not.
Yeah, he's biting a plastic thing. The long-haired German Shepherd.
I see.
Yeah. He's being a bit anxious. Co jest, Busiu? No tak. Jeżdżą mnie, Busiu. Don't mind the weird sounds. It's just how I sound when I talk to him.
That's right.
Okay. I think we can start, more or less. So, what brings us together on this beautiful, beautiful day? Oh, can you hear him now?
So there's this guy, you might have heard of him, a little known guy on the side of the pond called Donald Trump. Maybe
Yeah.
you've heard of him, maybe not. So he's come up with a 28-point peace plan for Ukraine and Russia and Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
Yeah,
So we just went over the 28 points and
you went over them.
Yes.
That's good. Technically speaking, the person that came up with the plan is his special envoy to Ukraine, Witkov, right? Together with the Russian counterpart. Ukraine was not involved in these discussions at all, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I thought we'd get on a call. I could, as somebody who is more informed about what's going on that side of the planet and that part of the world,
Yeah.
I thought I'd ask for your reactions. What do you think of the plan? And also how European countries are reacting to it right now.
Well, it's a whole thing. Okay. Sorry. Where should I start? The plan, and I personally call it, first of all, the surrender plan, because I see a lot of these points as non-starters, not just for Europe in general, but for Ukraine first and foremost. I think you can see why if you went through those points. And should I say, a lot of those points seem very, very vague to me. They include things like, for example, point that's, you know what I do in Ukraine, right? You know what my main work that I do in Ukraine is, right? You remember?
Yeah, I think you mentioned a bit last time, but we have a lot more people here today, so feel free to go over it again.
Okay, so I go to Ukraine and I basically do journalism related to the situation of children in the war. The children that live in Ukraine proper, the children that live in the occupied territories, as well as the children that are kidnapped. And this is a topic that is related to the children that are kidnapped. And here, point number 24 says a humanitarian committee will be established to resolve outstanding issues. And one of them is, the subpoints is, all civilians, detainees, and hostages will be returned, including children. Well, there's a big problem with that point. And the problem is that the Russian Federation does not really consider those kidnapped children to be either detainees or hostages. So my question is does this point even include the kidnapped children in reality?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
There's no decisive reaction from Europe yet, but I feel like Europe should be supporting Ukraine and rejecting this plan, especially since Volodymyr Zelensky has given since a 10-minute, give or take, address to the nation in which he all but indicated that he's going to reject the plan. He said that Ukraine is now facing its most difficult decision in the country's history, and it can either lose its dignity or risk losing a key partner, the key partner being the United States.
Yeah, I was telling my chat about that line that he used about Ukraine either losing their key partner or their dignity.
Yeah.
So, do you think do you think it's like then almost guaranteed that they're going to reject the plan?
Yeah, I think so. Of course it's just a draft, but I think they will definitely not accept it in its current form. Like, I think it's really comical that the very first point of the plan is Ukraine's sovereignty will be confirmed, but then the next points are, oh yeah, but your military can be only 600,000 personnel. Oh, by the way, you cannot join NATO. I find it also comical that a peace plan that is between Ukraine and Russia, technically speaking, well, Ukraine has not been even involved in the plans of drafting this proposal. Poland is also mentioned. I find it pretty funny that Poland is being told what it can and cannot do with its military, or rather what military it can or cannot host on its territory as part of this peace plan proposal. Point number 9, European fighter jets will be stationed in Poland. The implication being that US jets will not be stationed in Poland. So I find it interesting that not only Ukraine's sovereignty is not really being confirmed here, Poland's sovereignty is not really being confirmed here. Since it's being told, I guess you can only host these jets, but those other jets are not allowed. That is what Poland has to do with Ukraine is to have peace, I guess. It's a little bit weird, you have to admit, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was one of my concerns, which is that how okay, so my initial reaction to seeing this deal was that it's a very shitty deal for Ukraine.
Yeah, it is.
But even with it being a very shitty deal, I thought, okay, maybe there's a chance that Ukraine will accept it just because Ukraine is in a very unfortunate position right now, right? Because I think in the last couple of weeks, Ukraine has had more, just in terms of civilian debts, it has had more civilian debts in the last few weeks than in like all of last year. That's what I read, I think, on BBC or somewhere. But that was my initial reaction. I thought, okay, there is a chance that Ukraine might be just forced to accept this. But the question then comes up, okay, but how do we know for sure that like a lot of the points that are supposed to help Ukraine in this deal, how do we know for sure that they're going to be implemented? Like, for example, you mentioned the thing about like returning the kidnapped children, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So are there like other points like that where you are concerned about the implementation part of it?
Oh, a lot of them. Hold on. Points like 11, which also brings me to the point that I find this pretty comical because how should I put it? Ukraine is eligible for EU membership and will receive short-term preferential access to the European market while this issue is being considered. And the reason why I find this pretty interesting and funny is because, well, why should Russia dictate Ukraine what alliances it can join? Again, I thought Ukraine's sovereignty was being confirmed. And it's additionally funny because while Russia in this whole proposal says, yeah, Ukraine is eligible for EU membership, current Russia's de facto lapdog Hungary has been blocking Ukraine's accession to the European Union in any way it can. So
I see.
this is a point that is, all of those points suffer from just being vague and not really meaning much on their own until we get into any sort of details. Like there's
So
this,
with EU membership, with EU membership, like, does every nation in the EU have to agree for EU member to join, or
yeah,
like,
that's
is it
why
just like a majority?
Yeah, all countries have to agree, basically. That's why Hungary can block it the way it does. Or let's see. There's the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant being used to share the energy 50-50 is also a weird sticking point to me. That the Ukrainian power plant has to be used to share 50% of its energy with Russia. That's a little bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah. No, yeah, that's definitely very weird.
Yeah. We have
another.
Yeah.
Go on. Sorry.
No. Yeah, you say.
No, I was gonna say, like, another point which I found very, like, predatory on behalf of from the United States was just like the U.S. will receive 50% of the profits from this venture.
Yeah.
Like the venture of like investment into Ukraine.
Oh yeah. That's like with the whole rare earth mineral deal, where Trump wanted a lot of profit, but the problem is that most of those why even have that deal with Ukraine? Most of those rare earth minerals are in Donetsk region, and Ukraine is supposed to give it all up in this peace deal. So that's another thing, giving up territory. And people don't understand this at all, but for Ukraine to give up territory, it's not just a piece of land, it's millions of people that are suddenly under Russia's occupation. And for many people, that's already a reality, that for many people that means forcefully being moved, forceful deportation, torture, sexual assault, death. That is the reality for many people living in the occupied territories of Ukraine. Russification, Ukraine. When it comes to the kidnapped children, it is said that tens of thousands unaccompanied children have been kidnapped, right?
Yeah.
But it is also true that if you count all of the children together with the children that are living on the occupied territories, then suddenly you have a staggering number of 1.6 million children, Ukrainian children. So
I hear what you're saying.
Of course, giving up the territories would mean that many people would suddenly find themselves internally and externally displaced, and many people would find themselves under a very brutal occupation. It's just horrible. Right?
Another point which I found, another sticking point is that, where is that point? Yeah, basically, Ukraine is supposed to have elections within 100 days. That's a point I actually forgot to read earlier when we were going over this. But yeah, Ukraine will hold election in 100 days.
Yeah.
And I think that would kind of be political suicide for Zelensky if he were to accept this deal and then hold the election. I think he'd be out. But like, what do you probably know better as to how Ukrainian people right now feel about Zelensky, like
Well,
and how politics is.
Zelensky's popularity has been down a bit because Ukraine is being rocked by a huge scandal right now, corruption scandal. I'm not sure if you're familiar
Okay,
with that topic.
no, not I. We might have like just heard of that in passing, or we might have just mentioned it in passing. But can you tell us more?
So basically, a huge energy sector company that was supposed to be building reinforce its energy infrastructure because of the attacks. There's been contracts and deals that the company would basically say, hey, if you want this contract, then you will have to give us a kickback of 10%. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And for the reinforcement of the infrastructure against Russian attacks, it was apparently 15%. And the construction of the reinforcement was delayed because of the negotiations of the kickback. And this all has been happening as Russia has been attacking the infrastructure and Ukrainian people have been facing blackouts. I have been in Ukraine very recently and we have blackouts several times per day. There's no electricity and it's bad. And the problem here is, of course, that the main actors involved in this scandal, the main puppet masters of the scandal are people that are very close to Zelensky. So
I see.
his five inspectors, I'm not sure what the English word is, five people that basically help him run the country during the war. One of them is being his main associate, his second, his right hand Yermak, person that controls a lot of things in Ukraine, has a lot of power in Ukraine, but has no official role designated to him by the constitution. It's a very interesting situation with this person.
Yeah.
So because of that scandal, there's the Ukrainian population has been very displeased with Zelensky, let's just say. So that's a big. It's a very vulnerable time for Ukraine because of this scandal, and because at the same time Ukraine has a big budget deficit moving into the next year and still has not secured finances to plug it.
I see.
Yeah. So, but so your question was Zelensky. Yeah, well, of course it would be political suicide for him to accept this deal because a lot of Ukrainian people do see this deal simply as a non-starter, as a form of capitulation, which I agree. It is. What can I say?
Mm-hmm.
It is.
I mean, not just like I guess form of capitulation. It's like complete capitulation.
Yeah. Russia is being rewarded. Russia in this draft is Russia is just being rewarded for its invasion, genocidal invasion, I would add. Oh yes, and one of the biggest offenders for me, it's where is it? Oh God, how did I not mention this one? It's just one of the most horrible ones in this list. I think it's 26. Is it 26? Yes. Point 26. All parties involved in this conflict will receive full amnesty for their actions during the war and agree not to make any claims or consider any any complaints in the future. Full amnesty, considering how many horrible war crimes have been committed in this war. Are you joking? This I don't even know what to say to this one. Full amnesty, that's just complete rewarding the Russian Federation for its invasion.
Yeah.
Very disappointing. It has not been good. And even if this would lead to even if this would end in the conflict ending sooner, the war ending sooner, this would in effect still lead to the suffering of many, many, many Ukrainian people. Not necessarily Russian people, but it would lead to the suffering of many Ukrainian people. That part is guaranteed. Even if we just go by Ukraine handing over territory to the Russian Federation.
Yeah.
So also there's this weird point about a lot of this are so vague that you kind of all Nazi ideology and activities must be rejected and prohibited. What does that even mean in the context
I
of
was
this deal?
literally about to say it is so funny that Donald Trump's administration would put this into,
I think a lot
a
of it
peace
is
plan.
based spent by Russia, actually.
Yeah.
A lot of it is apparently clumsily translated Russian. There are a few examples when the sentence structure is a bit clumsy in English, but it makes perfect sense in Russian.
Mm-hmm.
So there is also discussion about that. But all Nazi ideology, because one of the stated goals of the Russian Federation when invading Ukraine is the denazification of Ukraine,
Correct.
whatever that means. And this here, all Nazi ideology and activities must be rejected and prohibited. What would that include in Ukraine exactly?
I think what Russia's trying to do here is score like a domestic political victory, right? Something that they can point to and be like, yeah, look, we were right. We told you that we went to demilitarize Ukraine and we did that. So I
Yeah.
think maybe that is what the intention is here.
And let me see. There's this. I'm gonna control F. The US guarantee. The US will receive compensation for the guarantee. What is the guarantee? Like, how can you discuss the guarantee without even knowing what the guarantee is?
I
It's
think they're
just
talking about the entire peace plan itself.
no, that there's supposed to be some security guarantee by the US, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
being specified. Point said the US guarantee. The US will receive compensation for the guarantee. If Ukraine invades Russia, it will lose the guarantee. What is the guarantee? It's like what? What? What am I supposed to do with this? What the hell is? What am I? If Russia invades Ukraine, in addition to this, it's the guarantee. Let me show you the bit that is said to
Yeah.
be clumsy Russian translation. Oh,
Also,
there you
something that
go.
I was just gonna
What?
respond to one of my
Yeah,
chatters.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, they were just referencing, Israel's excuse that terror babies had copies of Mein Kampf or whatever. And in this situation, it's like, yeah, of course, a lot of countries have far right movements and have neo-Nazi movements, and Ukraine is no exception. Ukraine also has like a far right movement, but that is, of course, not why Russia invaded Ukraine. Russia had no and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but like Russia had no intention to denazify Ukraine. That wasn't the point. The point was to take over territory. It's always about like, land and money,
I
right?
mean,
And I can see that especially a lot of the land that Russia wants to keep is like coastal territory, like
yeah.
ports.
And it is interesting that since the beginning of the war, Russia has been using its very fascistic, very Nazi-esque combat units, Rushich being among them.
Yeah.
You're familiar with Rushich?
Not them specifically, but I have heard about
Yeah,
Nazi
yeah, yeah, yeah. Formations
Nazi-style
and
units.
yeah. And you have point three.
And
This
yeah,
is
a
yeah.
chatter was saying, sorry.
No, go on, go on.
Yeah, no, a chatter was just saying like, yeah, Ukraine has also done something similar in the sense that they have these Azov battalions or whatever, right? They have these far right military battalions.
It's a bit more complicated than that because they've been
Hmm.
um, they've been basically folded into the army. It's been like that at the beginnings
Mm-hmm.
in 2014 moving forward, but they've been folded into the military, and a lot of regular civilians have joined that unit since. It's been very diluted when it comes to its far right tendencies. So
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely been a thing.
But yeah,
Ukraine's
also from,
yeah.
sorry that I keep interrupting you, but one last thing I was going to add is like when a country undergoes like invasion or, occupation or genocide or whatever, and we've seen this in so many different places, it can cause a far right movement because, it increases people's nationalism and
Yeah.
people react to those material conditions. Like we've seen this in Palestine, in Kashmir, whatever, right?
Yeah.
When people feel like the only people fighting for them, or one of the people fighting for them, are people who happen to be far right, then people put their support behind those groups.
Yeah. Yeah. Although, thankfully, the far right movements in Ukraine still have not gained very big traction in Ukraine, which could change depending on how the negotiations and how everything is conducted.
Hmm.
It could very well change.
I mean, not funny, but it's like interesting that in the West, it seems like, yeah, in like overseas in Canada, for example, some of these far right Ukrainian groups are more popular. Like I have seen the Azov battalions, like their symbol, their logo, be used by like Ukrainian groups over here.
Hmm.
And I've also talked to Ukrainians at times who feel themselves as being disconnected or being like isolated in those groups because they feel like there is a rise of, I guess, a more far right kind of nationalism in some of these overseas Ukrainian groups that they cannot relate to.
Well, there's a lot of aspects to this. As I've said, Azov has been folded into the military, and a lot of its tendencies have been watered down. But also, there's the fact
Hmm.
that they've been the defenders of Mariupol very famously. So they've gained a
Hmm.
lot of their prominence through that very, very well through that defense of Mariupol, which ended in tragedy, but still, they were the Mariupol
Yeah.
defenders. And there's this whole call to release trapped, imprisoned Azov members that have been the defenders of Mariupol. Free Azov is the
Hmm.
call sign used. So it gets complicated. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so I'll show you the point that is basically poorly translated Russian. It is expected that Russia will not invade neighboring countries and NATO will not expand further. Well, what kind of phrasing is that? This is very strange phrasing, isn't it?
Uh, yeah, I guess. I mean, I think I don't know, maybe because you're maybe more aware of like Russian, perhaps it is phrased in a specific way in Russian. I read it very plainly as like, yeah, Russia will give a guarantee to not invade any more
Hey,
places
no,
and
but
NATO will not expand.
I've not really seen many things phrased like that in English. It is expected that Russia will. How often do
Ah, I
you
see what you're saying.
start the sentence with "it is expected"? Right?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's expected that Russia will not invade neighboring countries. Also a weird thing to include in your peace plan between Ukraine and Russia. Yeah, we're I guess we're not gonna invade neighbors. That's weird.
Yeah.
And NATO will not expand further. Russia caused the expansion of NATO during this war, by the way,
Hmm.
single-handedly. The countries, Nordic states, have joined NATO because of the
Yeah.
Russian aggression. Fajdo.
I mean, I think that part has been a long time demand of Russia, right? For a
Yeah.
long time, they have expressed concern about like NATO's expansion, and if I remember correctly, in like the 90s, Putin actually or 90s or early 2000s, like Putin actually tried to join like NATO, and they were rejected from it.
Not exactly. It's not like they were rejected. It's like you have certain things that you. It's like the Polish Minister of Foreign Affairs said that he always was communicating in the past. Yeah, it would be cool if Russia joined NATO. There's only one thing that Russia has to do to join NATO. It has to become a democracy. Okay? It has to meet the qualifier that countries must meet to become members of NATO. Just become a democracy. And sure, you're fine to join NATO if you do that. But, I guess it was just not in the cards for Russia. And as to the worries of Russia.
The way that I analyze it, and you can give me your opinion on this, but I think, in the West, like when you analyze it from like, I guess, an anti-capitalist perspective, right? There's also this point that a lot of Western countries are able to justify their military spending and arms manufacturing by there being like permanent enemies, right?
Yeah.
So I think, for the United States and for NATO, one of these enemies has been Russia, because NATO is like the way that I and some other people call, on the left, we term NATO. It is a protection racket. It is a way for the United States to basically pull in more money into its arms manufacturing complex, right? So, and it's able to justify that military spending, and NATO is in general for years been able to justify that military spending, saying, "Hey, we have these enemies. We have Russia, for example, and of course, Russia is also a legitimate security threat over the years. But I think it also benefits the ruling classes of these nations to have these external enemies."
It's true, but it is also true that Russia just very willingly places itself as that enemy. I mean, Europe has been demilitarizing for many years, being very calm and very secure in its thinking that there will be no further conflicts on the continent. Europe has been neglecting its military. Europe has been basically dismantling its military production. So it's been very complacent in its place. And when Russia invaded, suddenly Europe is thinking, oh crap, I guess we have to remilitarize now, which Poland is a big example of that, of spending close to 5% of its GDP to, it's just, what can I say? When it comes to NATO, it is very important to consider that NATO has not really been the real reason why Russia has invaded Ukraine. Putin has made it very clear in his essays, in his speeches. The very famous Russian philosopher Alexander Dugin has made it also clear that Ukraine can only exist either as an extension of Russia, of the Ruski Mir, of the Russian world, or it cannot exist at all. It can either exist under some form of Russian control or directly as part of Russia, or its existence cannot be suffered at all. The existence of Ukraine is, much like NATO, or even worse, considered an existential threat to Russia itself. And that has been reflected in very public essays and speeches of Vladimir Putin. Any other thing is just an excuse in my mind. NATO was off the table since 2014, and in NATO, absolutely all countries have to agree for a country to be able to join. And there are a number of countries that have consistently said no to Ukraine joining NATO. So NATO was not even a consideration when Russia first invaded. And then there's the denazification, which I don't even think I should entertain this whole thing. Of course, there were other things along the way. Sometimes the Russian media said that Satanism has to be defeated in the West and Ukraine. Sometimes, in one speech, Putin even said that it's all about transgenderism. Yes, he said that once, and that J.K. Rowling is being persecuted. So, many things. cause Russia to be forced, quote unquote, to invade Ukraine.
Yeah.
Wokeness. Wokeness was cited as one of the reasons why Ukraine has been, which is interesting because Ukraine is actually not that woke. It's in Eastern Europe still, so it's
Yeah.
Eastern Europe is not super woke. Poland, for example, is the worst country
Pretty
for
conservative in
LGBT.
many aspects from what I hear.
Yeah, the worst country for LGBT people out of the entirety of Europe. I believe the most intolerant to the LGBT out of all the European countries.
I see.
So
Right. Also, I was just going to tell my chat real quick. Chat, if you guys have any questions, like that's fine, right? You don't mind taking questions, right?
yeah, of course not.
Yeah, chat. If you have any questions for Lucy, please share your questions.
Yeah, I've been thinking of doing a all-day fundraiser today because I'm trying to get funds to go back to Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
Aw. Yeah. So any questions? Also, someone is Trip Fontaine from your chat?
Sorry, who?
A person called Trip Fontaine. It is expected is a phrase that's used somewhat often in English. It basically means it's a veiled threat. I understand that, but I haven't seen this phrase used many times in official documents. It is expected for X to do Y. I've not seen that many documents.
Yeah, I have not heard of that person, but I also don't have the best memory.
I see.
Yeah, that name does not sound familiar though.
Maybe it's a complete new viewer.
Perhaps, yeah.
Yay.
But yeah, how are you already went over this a little bit, and you said most European countries are probably like encouraging, like they have said that the deal is ridiculous, and they're encouraging Ukraine to reject it. Are there any countries that stand out? Are there any countries that are maybe saying that Ukraine should accept the
Oh yeah,
deal?
definitely Hungary will say so. Like 100%
Okay.
Viktor Orban will say, oh yeah, peace should be achieved no matter what. And the warmongering Europe and warmongering Hungary, not Hungary, Ukraine are trying to drag Hungarian people into war, and I'm here to save you. So vote for me because there's an election coming up in Hungary, and Viktor Orban is in trouble because the opposition to his party is leading in the polls by a significant margin. So Viktor Orban is doing all that he can to save his ass. And part of that is the anti-European, anti-Ukrainian rhetoric about Hungary being dragged into war and Orban being the only thing standing between war and Hungarian people.
I see. He's doing the Trump move.
Yeah. I mean, they are
He's saying, "I'm
close.
the guy
They
who will bring
are
you peace."
like Orban. Trump likes Orban a lot, actually.
Yeah, he
So,
has. He's given shout outs to Orban in the past.
oh yeah, oh yeah, and he's
He's like, "I
given
like this
him
guy, Viktor Orban."
like recently. Trump finally decided to sanction Russia, but of course, Hungary has received exceptions from those sanctions. So that's that is a thing. Yeah. Any more questions from the chat?
I don't have any questions. Chat does not seem to have any questions. Chat, do you guys have any other questions?
Yeah. It's a very. This whole thing has been such a fiasco from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Ukraine has been a lot less safe this year than it has been the last. Trump was supposed to end this conflict in 24 hours, and then it's just been a mess. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, and I think like there's an economic reason as well, right? Which is that the West, like the United States especially, has benefited from prolonging this war for as long as possible and not bringing like peace sooner. Because I think one of my criticisms of like the Biden administration during the course of this war was that they would give Ukraine aid in like very like delayed small quantities. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
when they had the chance to give like a huge lump sum shipment of aid at once, military aid to Ukraine at once, they wouldn't do that, and
Yeah. I think it's because
they would
Trump
give
is
it in small
awful,
amounts and they would
Emilius.
delay it. So basically,
Yeah.
it's almost as though the aid was delivered in such a way as to prolong the war
Always too little,
as much
always
as
too late.
possible.
But that's been a problem of the West in general, not just the United States. That has been a problem with
Of
Europe as
course, yeah.
well. And I see it more as it's not exactly, but it's not really profitable for the US to do that because it has not been selling the weapons. It's been given them. It was aid. So what kind of profit was that exactly for the US to do that,
Well,
right?
the profit is, the profit is made by the American ruling class, right? Who have um, money invested in arms manufacturing because what America has been doing, to my understanding, is they have been giving a lot of their old weapons and
Well, not a
equipment
lot because
to
we
Ukraine.
just that's the problem, isn't it? We've just examined that
Yeah,
they've
yeah.
not been giving a lot of the weapons; they've been giving little trickling amounts.
Hmm.
So that means that the manufacturing only replaces the small trickling amounts. So I don't see. I've seen this more as the West in general being scared of the. Have you heard of the escalation ladder, nuclear escalation ladder?
Yeah, yeah. But no, I think like for sure that maybe that's a consideration, but I think we have to like understand how the Trump administration, for example, has been working in general, right? Which is that a lot of what Trump does is directly theft from the working class into the pockets of the ruling class because taxes, for example, are disproportionately levied at the poor and the working class in general. Tariffs, for example, are directly a sales tax on the working class, and taxes are cut for the rich. So you know, when Trump and even Biden, when they justify more military spending, when they say, "Look, we have these threats, we have to deal with Russia, we have to deal with China, whatever," and so we need to spend more and more on military. The people who benefit from that money being spent is the American ruling class. It is the rich, and that money is taken from the pockets of the American poor and working class. That is my at least analysis of this entire situation.
I mean, sure, but Trump has been incompetently dragging this war and all but stopped any form of aid, military aid. So, there's not been any aid packages since he took office, any significant aid packages um, given to Ukraine since he has taken office. He has been talking about selling weapons to Ukraine, but there's been no significant shipments from the US to Ukraine when it comes to weapons. So, it's been a wash, I think.
Mhm.
And all that being done is that Trump is trying to appeal to his friendship with Putin to end the war quick, and Putin is just playing him like a fiddle, it seems. There's been a lot
Yeah.
of mocking of Trump. Like the Russian media has been mocking him openly about this, saying that he's just very easily controllable, a very easily controllable guy.
Yeah. I have a comment and a question in my
Yeah,
chat. So
yeah,
one person said that Germany and the United States have definitely benefited from the war. Um, and the question is that somebody's asking, a lot of American leftists are very ambivalent towards supporting Ukraine early in the war, or were
yeah.
very ambivalent towards supporting Ukraine early in the war,
Yeah.
since they
One
saw
moment,
the U.S.
okay?
support for. Sorry. Okay, I think she's talking to somebody off screen. Um,
Yeah. Sorry.
yeah, so the question was a lot of American leftists were very ambivalent
Ambivalent.
towards supporting Ukraine early in the war since they saw US support for Ukraine as an attempt to expand American hegemony and unipolar dominance over the world. What do you think about that?
I think it's, from my perspective, I think it's silly. I think it's very, again, I think it's very silly to speak in such terms when you are in the so-called imperial core. When you're very safe in the US, you can treat the world as a chessboard. When you speak of, oh, this is just an expansion of hegemony, so we should not be helping this country, this other country should not be helped. But this Russian invasion ruins the lives of millions, and Russia wants to engage in its own imperial project. It wants to establish its own sphere of influence. And I don't think it's very, I think it's very interesting to see left-leaning people engage in this armchair chess play when they say, "Oh yeah, it should not be supported because the U.S. hegemony." Like the U.S. did not orchestrate the conflict. Russia invaded Ukraine, and Russia started openly states that it wants to erase Ukraine. So what are the U.S. left-leaning people saying? That Ukraine should be erased as a nation in the name of not allowing U.S. hegemony uh, and not allowing the it's to be the sole pillar in the world. Is that what is being said? That Ukraine is to be sacrificed on the altar of the multipolar world order?
Yeah, I guess like what maybe little truth there might be to what they're saying is rather that the United States is not going to support Ukraine for like out of the kindness of their heart, right? The United
Uh,
States support has always been because of its own
Well, that's
political
true, but
calculation,
no
because of
state will
yeah,
ever work out of the kindness of their
of
hearts.
course.
Like states are, by their very nature, self-interested entities. So that's not
Hmm.
really, that's not really an argument that country X will not do something out of the kindness of their hearts. That's true for every single country in the world, right?
Of course.
So that's not really an argument that will speak to me. It's very. I find this very interesting that left-leaning people uh, will be so against supporting a country defending itself against a fascistic regime invading it in order to erase the existence of the country itself.
Yeah.
I find this very peculiar.
No, definitely. What I was saying is like, yeah, I agree with like the overall point that you're making. The kernel of truth was, yeah, like what we said, that every country acts in its own self-interest. But I also agree with Fabio in my chat that it's a very callous POV from a humanitarian perspective. I think for a lot of leftists in the West, like especially like in the United States, for example, the reason sometimes they take these kind of perspectives in a very almost knee-jerk reaction is because the United States has been a very warmongering country for a long time. And so anytime the United States is involved in a conflict anywhere in the world, I think there is perhaps an instinct to doubt it or to reject it. So I guess that would be my analysis as to why some left-leaning people in the United States fall for that sort of a perspective.
Yeah,
Not
but
saying I agree
I
with it, but I think that's where it's coming from.
I also have a lot more harsher analysis and harsher explanation for this. It's because
Yeah,
the American people don't understand what it is to be invaded. They don't really understand what it is to
true.
suffer from occupation or any of these things. So they just know the safety of the United States, where nothing really of that sort happens when their relatives are not in constant danger of dying,
Hmm.
where there's not this constant pressure of abandoning your language, culture, and identity, when there's just those things are not a factor and
Hmm.
have not been a factor for many years. So American people just cannot conceptualize these things, in my opinion.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's just this very abstract thing. Oh, just give up territory. Just give it up. It's just territory. Like whatever. Why can Ukraine just agree to give up some territory? It's just land. Well, it's not. It's the life of many, many people, millions of people that are at
Hmm.
stake here. And people just don't understand that at all.
Yeah,
There's just there's this disconnect. And I've been very, very disappointed with the so-called left of the United States on this in this regard. Very
yeah.
disappointed indeed. As a
That's
left-leaning person myself.
no, I get that. That's I think a common reaction that a lot of us have. We are very often disappointed in the North American left, I would say.
Yeah, it's now there's a lot of very strange condescension and very strange misunderstanding of the situation in this region of the world, misunderstanding of the nature of Russia, because there's also this whole aspect of the nostalgia after the Soviet Union, which, putting aside the fact that the Russian Federation is not the Soviet Union, there's a lot of almost defending Russia on these grounds.
Yeah.
Even though Russia is absolutely a fascistic
I
regime.
think I think something else that goes on here is that sometimes when the United States has like an enemy, right? You have leftists in the United States or in the West in general who decide to be a bit too what's the word I'm looking for? Charitable. They decide to be a bit too charitable at times to those enemies. Like for example, um China, right? Like recently, China and Ukraine, China and Russia, sorry, they rather than veto the United States Gaza peace plan, they abstained. And a lot of people, a lot of leftists were shocked. They were just like, wait, why did China do this? And yeah, so it became like, I guess, a glaring point to show a lot of leftists that no, like maybe shouldn't be too charitable to these nations. And just because somebody is an enemy of the United States, which is a, which is a evil superpower, that doesn't mean like the enemies are necessarily good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, I think people have a very shallow understanding of international relations and just
Yeah,
treat it as a game almost, in my opinion.
yeah,
They treat countries as factions. I choose the good faction, and therefore all other factions are bad, or this faction is bad, and therefore all other factions that oppose it have to be, by extension, good. So I should root for them. It's a very naive view of the world.
yeah. I hear you. Also, before we wrap it up, do you have any do you have any updates about what's going on in Poland that you'd like to give us? Anything interesting going on there?
Mm, there's been a whole thing about the big sabotage on the train tracks leading to the city of Lublin, which is near the border with Ukraine. Russia has been conducting sabotage and terrorism in Poland, and therefore the last consulate of Russia has been closed in Poland. So that's been a thing.
I see.
Yeah, there's a lot of things related to this conflict that are ongoing and developing as we speak. And one of them being, of
Anything?
course, this surrender
Yeah.
plan that has surfaced all of a sudden unexpectedly. Yeah.
No, I was just asking like anything in maybe domestic Ukrainian politics. Anything interesting that you'd
Oh,
like to
well,
share if you feel safe to?
I mean, well, there's been this corruption scandal that is the most talked about thing that we've discussed briefly.
Ah, okay.
The corruption scandal is definitely huge. It's the biggest corruption scandal that has rocked Ukraine since the beginning of the war, I'd say. It's
Sorry,
huge.
did I say Ukraine? I meant Poland. Is there anything
Oh,
happening in
Poland?
domestic?
Well,
Yeah.
there's the constant tension between the president and the government because the
Mm-hmm.
far right populist president Karol Nawrocki has won the election, and so there is this anti-European atmosphere around this president. That's definitely a thing worth discussing when it comes to Polish domestic politics. The coalition, the currently ruling coalition in Poland, basically trying to survive. And there's also the matter of Nawrocki's attitude towards Ukraine itself. So there's the victory of Karol Nawrocki, the far right candidate to be the president of Poland, signals a possible return of the far right to the to governance of Poland, which is a something that I
Yeah.
certainly hope will not happen. But you never know. You never know. Like, there's been a call from the Minister of Foreign Affairs, or maybe it was the Prime Minister himself, that the president's rhetoric leads to Polish people possibly wanting to leave the European Union, which would be, of course, disastrous for Poland itself.
Mm-hmm.
Polexit. That's a term that is being floated around.
Polexit.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. So that's a thing domestically, I guess.
Yeah.
The Polexit.
Also, there is a question. Sorry, go on.
No, I just said, I could just repeated the word Polexit. It's a ridiculous word. Yeah, you have a question?
Yeah, no, there's a question in chat, which is, and I'm not really familiar with what they're talking about. Maybe you know. Wasn't there supposed to be a much better deal under Biden that would have stopped this with much less concessions that Boris Johnson intervened on behalf of the U.S. to stop, or is that not the case?
No, the deal that was stopped back there. I was also in the wake of the Bucha massacre, that deal being discussed. There was no, the Boris Johnson thing is often used as an argument that there was this beautiful, amazing deal that Boris Johnson stopped, told Ukraine, you have to continue. But no, first of all, it was in the wake of the huge massacre of civilians in Bucha. I think we're all familiar with that. And second of all, the terms of the deal surfaced at some point, and it was the same thing. Ukraine has to demilitarize, Ukraine has to be neutral, Ukraine has to never join NATO, Ukraine has to basically left itself completely defenseless and hope that Russia will never invade again. It was a non-starter deal. Just like now.
Mm-hmm.
The deal right now, it's basically a slightly modified deal, quote unquote, from back then. Not much. Russia has been very consistent with its demands towards Ukraine. It has been the most consistent thing throughout this war, that Russia is demanding these exact things. They've been demanding them from then, and they're demanding them now.
I see.
So that deal was basically a version of this. Because since then we have seen the terms of that proposal leak, and we know exactly what Russia demanded in that deal. And many of the points here were reflected in the deal back then.
I see.
So the whole Boris Johnson destroyed peace in Ukraine is just not true.
All right, that's fair. Yeah, Chatter just says thanks for the clarification.
Yeah. It's been used against anti-Ukraine pundits a lot, the Boris Johnson talking point, as well as Ukraine had a coup in 2014, which is the even more ridiculous point. But
yeah,
it is sad. And of course, there's
also
been yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, you go first.
No, I was just saying, like, my mod Fabuli is asking, is there anything we can do to support the LGBTQ folks in Poland and Ukraine?
The most selfish answer I can give is to support the biggest trans Polish streamer, which is me. So I prefer to go to Ukraine. But no, I guess you can find organizations in Ukraine and in Poland, LGBT organizations like Lambda. Lambda is a big Polish organization, if memory serves. Pro LGBT. That's a big thing. I mean, my own experience is a mixed bag. Sometimes I operate in Ukraine as Lucy, which surprises me, and sometimes I just have to do journalist-related things as a dead name. So
I see.
Like I have a published article right now, which means that I can technically speaking call myself a published journalist now, and it is published under my dead name. So it is what it is. I live where I live.
I get that struggle. I've had a lot of work in the past published under my dead name, which I just don't talk about now.
Yeah. So, it is what it is, unfortunately.
It is what it
You
is.
you play with you play the cards that you are given, I guess.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that you can do. So yeah.
One of my mods,
Yeah.
another one of my mods is asking, this is a little out of topic, but I would like to ask them if they are aware of the Polish painter, and I might butcher this pronunciation, but Zdzisław Bizinski. And if they are, then their thoughts on the work.
Can you write down the name?
Yeah.
Baczynski?
Oops, sorry. I posted the wrong DM. Yeah, here you go.
Beksiński, yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm familiar. Beksiński. Zdzisław Beksiński. I'm familiar. Yeah. They're pretty good paintings. Let me Google. This is very detailed, very famous painter internationally. Do you know him?
I don't actually. I'm not a very arts person, unfortunately.
No? My mother is a painter, and my grandmother was a painter as well. Yeah, very famous. Beksiński is very, very famous. Very detailed, very beautiful art.
I see.
Yeah. I know of him. I do a little bit of painting myself. I dabble in the arts, waiting for AI to replace me forever.
Okay, yeah, this guy has very interesting paintings.
Yeah, a very, very good artist, I would say.
Yeah, it's like almost like a psychedelic vibe, some might say.
Yeah, there is a lot of it that fits the Warhammer 40k vibe as well. That's a thing. The peace plan. We'll see what comes out of it. It's...
All right.
We'll just have to wait and see. Okay.
All right. Well, hopefully the best. Hopefully there's hopefully there's a better plan in the future.
Yeah.
And, this conflict ends as soon as possible.
We'll have to see. I don't have much hope, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, what else can one do?
I have been very Polish about this, and by Polish I mean skeptical. My Polish skepticism gets the better of me. I don't have hopes for a quick resolution to the conflict, and it's been tough. What can I say?
That's fair. It is what it is.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
Right. Well, thank you so much for talking to me. Anything else that you'd like to say or talk about before we wrap it up?
How many people are watching right now?
There are 77, but we started with like around
77, 100. Right? Okay, so I guess I'm gonna use this opportunity to shout out a very important piece of work of a fellow journalist. Is that okay?
Of course, of course.
So there's this journalist.
We here love journalists, except Van Jones.
There's this journalist from the United States that goes to Ukraine every year to embed with the armed forces. And his name's Dylan Burns. You're familiar?
Sorry, can you repeat that name?
Dylan Burns.
Sounds familiar, but I'm not sure who that
is. And he has very recently released a documentary. There's a city right now that is being besieged by Russia. It is about to fall, unfortunately. It was, and to a degree still is, a very important hub when it comes to logistics and many other things. Near it was a coal mine which was responsible for about 20% of steel industry in Ukraine. And this journalist by the name of Dylan Burns has been embedding with the armed forces and has been documenting the changes in Pokrovsk, that is the name of the city, for a whole year. The documentary is called 1 Year of Fighting, 1 Year on the Pokrovsk Front Line. And I would like to recommend anybody and everybody to watch this documentary. I'm gonna link it to you. It's a
I found it. I'm gonna just
it's a
screenshot.
very beautiful piece of reporting, and I think that as many people as physically possible should watch this. It's a little bit of a long documentary, but I think every minute is worth it.
All right. Yeah, maybe we will watch it later
Yeah,
on stream.
the whole 1 hour 49 minutes.
Oh yeah, well, sometimes we watch long things. That's all right.
It's a really good documentary, so I highly recommend it. It's a very high quality piece of journalism.
Yeah. All right. We'll definitely watch that.
Okay. Well, I guess on this positive note, we can finish this call.
All right. Sounds good. Well, it was great talking to you. Thank you for talking to me.
Thank you. And I'll see you again.
Right, take care.
Bye-bye.
All right, definitely. Take care.
All right, we've done our duty. Anybody still here? I think I might have to end stream for now and go and walk with Fido because, I usually at this time I wake up, I go out with Fido and give him some food. And because we are having right now we are having we had a collaboration. How should I put it? I could not do that. So I think I'm gonna do that now. And yeah. Okay, brilliant. I'm not sure if anybody's still watching on this end, but I might as well do some raiding, I guess. It's been nice. It's been nice that I had the opportunity to talk. Okay. Riverboat Jack, I guess. Okay, I'll see you. Bye-bye.